everyone. Welcome to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I was looking in our files, and this is our 88th Odyssey House Journal. Unbelievable. I'm Randall Carlisle, along with my beautiful co-host, Rachel Santizo. Hi.
Hi.
What in the hell do you have around your neck?
So I'm wearing this lovely lei today. I don't have a shirt, but I thought I'd wear this because today I'm taking my clients to the park and I'm really excited about it. So what it means is I'm representing fun and recovery. So that is what I'm representing today.
And that's something people need to remember. Obviously, going to treatment or dealing with an addiction is not fun, but my biggest thing was learning that you can have fun not being high. You know,
Right. Exactly. So I think it should be represented. So that is the message for today.
well, it's better. Well, it's a good message. Usually, for those of you who just are watching this first time around, Rachel usually wears a T-shirt that has a message of some kind on it. So that's a great message as well. We try to impart a little news knowledge here at the beginning of each podcast. And usually usually I cite a survey that's sort of negative, like, opioid deaths are increasing, blah, 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 blah. Here is a positive one. The number of college age Americans who are choosing not to consume alcohol is increasing, according to a study at the University of Michigan School of Nursing. And they're talking about adults age 18 to 22, which would be college age. And the number of them over the past 10 years that have abstained from drinking, because we all think about, crazy stuff that goes on at college and everything, has increased from 20% to 28% of college age kids. And they don't have to be going to college, but who decided to abstain from drinking.
Wow. That's incredible and shocking to me. Like I have no idea. Why do you?
Yeah. I no, it doesn't say why. That's the only problem with surveys. But and that's when my alcoholism really began to get bad, it was back during college because we went out and got drunk every night at the bar. And who knows what would have happened had I not done that. Maybe I wouldn't have become, a functional alcoholic for decades. I don't know. It's hard to know.
Yeah, I'm excited by those numbers. I'm happy. I mean, my initial response was probably not the best, but that's great.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to say. And we probably won't know if that's happening right now. We probably won't know for years to come whether that decreases the number of people dealing with an alcohol use disorder. It's hard to say. So
Right.
you have lined up the guest today. Who's our guest?
I have. So this gentleman, Sean Ackroyd, I have the pleasure of working with him here at my facility, but I wanted him to come share his story and I'll let him tell more about himself, but he loves flamingos and he has worked really hard in his life and he just graduated and he has an incredibly an incredibly courageous story to tell. And so it's important for the world to hear. And so I'm so honored that he decided to come on and share his story. So without further ado, Sean Ackroyd.
Hello, Sean. There he is. Whoa.
Yes.
I just started to piggyback off Rachel and with the fun and recovery thing. These are my Elton John glasses.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I thought they were. I
Yeah,
see a
pretty rock
Canadian
star.
flag over your shoulder. What does that signify?
I am my family comes from Canada. I've been in the States long enough to call myself as an American citizen, but my dad was American. But we moved down here when I was 13 years old, and I've been here since. And I'm the only one in my family who still talks like a Canadian.
And so how do you say out and about?
Out and about.
Not oot and a boot?
Not out and about. A boot is something you wear on your shoe, on your foot.
Right. And how about the word SCHEDULE?
I'm been Americanized. I'm scheduled.
Schedule, because most Canadians say schedule.
Scheduled. Yep. I've been Americanized.
And the other word is GARAGE.
Oh, garage.
Yeah, yeah. And we say garage. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, happy Happy Canada Day. A few weeks. This is,
Thank you.
we're recording it a day after Canada Day, but it won't come out for a couple of weeks. So happy Canada Day. A couple of weeks.
Yay!
Where did you get those glasses?
We interesting story actually. We did a dance for the clients last Wednesday to announce a winner of the new Odyssey House Meadowbrook cheer for Moves Day.
It was called the Biker Shuffle. Day.
Yes, the biker shuffle.
Mhm.
I slaughtered it, but I had the glasses and it worked it really well.
And it goes to, you know, people watching may say, well, that sounds goofy, but again, it goes back to that having fun in sobriety, right?
I'm sure I look goofy.
Well, yes, you do. So
You can't have fun if you take yourself so seriously. You can't have fun, but with yourself and with your peers and with circumstances. Then recovery is almost impossible.
Right.
So Rachel says you have an amazing story that needs to be told.
I have a story. yeah, I do. Should I just go right into it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, my story starts out long before I started using drugs, long before I started drinking alcohol. My story, it starts with this weird feeling that I was never really right, that I wasn't correct, that I was never comfortable in my own skin. A lot of that started out when I was 3 years old and my parents got divorced. You know, and back in those days, you know, divorce was just starting to really take root and really popping off, and people just getting divorced left and right. By the way, I talk really fast. You should have heard me on meth. It was worse. I'm one of those kids who took that divorce of my parents the wrong way. It was all my fault. It was on me. My dad left me. I woke up one day, my dad wasn't there, and I had no idea why. All I know is that he was a very angry man. He did a lot. He was abusive to me and my brother and my mom, and I was scared to death of him. And so, since he was always angry with me, it was my fault that he left. And I took that to heart. I never really expressed that too much to anybody, but it's, you know, it's just the way I felt for most of my life growing up.
Which would be a normal feeling for kids of divorce, right?
Yeah. I think especially when you come from somebody who's been physically and mentally abusive to you, who's always angry with you and you don't know why, then waking up one day and them gone, it's, gosh, he hated me enough that he had to leave. He abandoned me. You know, especially when we're that young of an age, that impressionable of an age, that's the first thought that we form, right? Excuse me. I'm just quitting smoking again, so I'm having the problem with the this stuff.
As your body adjusts to becoming normal and healthy again, right?
Yes. Anyway, so fast forward to a few years down the road, you know, it was I knew from, like I say, I was never really right in my own skin, never really comfortable. I never felt like I fit into people with people around me. And I grew up in Southern Alberta and Southern Utah, both very, very religious, very Mormon communities, very cowboy, very man is a man, da 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 da. But I knew that I was gay. I knew that I was attracted to men. And that's something I had to hide about myself. So I had two things going against me already. My dad hated me and I was gay, and nobody liked people who were gay. And I remember one time when I was younger, my uncle, my cousin, asked his dad, my uncle, what homo meant, because homo was on the whole milk cartons in Canada. And his dad looked at him very seriously and said, "Homos are the most evil and wicked people in the world."
And you heard him say that?
I heard him say that.
How'd that make you feel?
I was very evil and wicked. Right? I took that to heart. You know, I had this.
Co-signed on all the feelings you already felt. That just co-signed on all the feelings you were already feeling.
Yeah, I was worthless. Yeah, and that, you know, and I grew up knowing that I was worthless, evil and vile, and unlovable, and not comfortable in my own skin. So, you know, and I didn't really start, you know, like I said, my addiction took root a little bit later in life, but I was struggling with these problems my whole life. I went on a mission for the church, got back, and about a year and a half later, I was excommunicated from the church. And once again, I was unlovable, unwanted, unworthy, and these things kept piling up on each other.
Excommunicated because you were gay?
Excommunicated because, not just because I was gay, because I liked sex.
Ah.
right? So I engaged in sexual relations with the same sex and went back to my bishop and confessed about it the day after each time. So because I had this incredible guilt complex as well. Oh my God, I'm gay. I just had sex. I've got to confess.
Well, at least you were honest.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if it was because I was honest, because I was too afraid of damnation and being judged by God for being gay and engaging, and knowing that, you know, this incredible guilt complex. I've got to talk to somebody because that's what I was taught to do. You know, you go to the bishop, you confess your sins, and you're forgiven. So I do that on a at least a monthly basis. And after about a year of that, my bishop said, "Well, we're gonna have a church hearing for you. Church, what do they call it? Like a case conference we have here. Anyways, like a hearing.
A
I
bishop's
didn't go to that. Pardon me?
bishop's court or what?
Yes, that one. Yeah, something like that.
I'm not even Mormon, and I've heard that before. So
Is
Well,
that what
yeah.
it's really called?
Pardon me?
Is that what it's really called?
I think it's called the bishop's court or church court.
okay.
Oh, okay.
I think I might be wrong again. I didn't go to that because I knew what they're going to do. I knew what they're going to talk about, and I was uncomfortable talking about it because I was just uncomfortable in general. And I got a letter from the state president the day after, while I was at work, saying that I had been excommunicated from the church. And it was really a really weird sensation. I felt really relieved. I felt like a big weight had been lifted off my shoulders because I no longer had to live up to something that I couldn't live up to. You know, I never really had a belief in God, in church. I tried really, really hard to fit in because that was what I did. I didn't fit in anywhere, so I had to find something that I'd fit in and fake it until you make it, which never really worked for me either. So when I was excommunicated from the church, and I was engaged at the time, and that broke off, and she let slip to, well, I'm sure she did it on purpose. She told a couple of my friends that I was excommunicated because I was gay, and lost all my friends. So once again, abandoned, alienated. And this was in a small city in southern Utah, Cedar City, going to school at SUU. So everybody knew, right? And yeah, so I had to outrun that for a couple of years. Tried to get back on the straight horse, and nobody could tell that I was gay. Good luck. Then I started drinking. I joined a fraternity and started drinking in the fraternity, and that worked for a little bit, right? It made me feel like I belonged. It made me feel like I was secure in something because I was drinking with other people, and I was in this fraternity with these people who were supposed to be my friends, and they were good. They were good guys. They were really good guys. But you know, the whole fake it till you make it thing is like a life thing for me. I had to fake it to fit in because I didn't feel comfortable again coming out. I came out when I was 28 years old, moved to Salt Lake. And that was kind of woo, here I am. I'm gay, going to the gay bars, getting drunk more. And I started binge drinking really hard for a year and a half. I didn't like alcohol. I hated alcohol. And I was too scared to try drugs at the time. So I binge drink. I'd wake up the next morning, I'd throw up, I'd be sick for a day and start over the next day. Excuse me. So I come back in the closet when we moved to Logan to go back to school because I wanted to fit in again. It's my life story is fitting in. You know, it just is that need, that desire for connection and never having it. And always feeling like I was an outsider. Well, fast forward to the next few years. When I was about 40 years old in 2010, it was about 2009, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And my mom and I were best friends. You know, she was the one who made me feel like I fit in somewhere. You know, she knew how to make me feel like I was important. And she was probably the only person I believed when she told me that I was important and I was loved. In 2010, on July 25th, 2010 at 2:25 p.m., my mom died of cancer. And that date and time of day, I don't know why I looked at the clock when she died, but I did. And it's etched into my brain forever. I'll never forget that day and that time. And that's when my world fell apart. That was when I lost the only person who I believed who could make me feel whole to a certain extent. And And, you know, I did the whole I tried doing the whole grieving thing, but I don't know if I did it wrong. 6 months after that, my grandma died. And I was really close with her. She's my mom's replacement. I had her for 6 months. And then 6 months after that, I lost my job. I was working in landscape architecture in the commercial sector, and that's when the commercial sector just crashed, that market. Excuse me. 6 months later, I lost my dad.
Jeez.
So it was a hectic 2 years for me. I never had time to really mourn for any of those losses. All I knew was that things weren't right. I didn't feel right again, and nothing could make me feel right. And so I turned first to what I turned to when I was in college and wanted to fit in with sex. So I had this, I never really admitted to having sexual addiction, but I could probably say I was addicted to sex. I made that odd not connection, but I made this assumption, I guess, a core belief that having sex with somebody made that connection with another human being. I think that's kind of where I went with that, because it felt good for about 5 minutes to an hour. And I made a connection with somebody, and that somebody wanted me, somebody liked me, somebody thought I was attractive, somebody wanted to be with me, even for a short period of time. But then that whole after fact, the come down of that, and I felt horrible again. And I was on looking for the next person to have sex with. So that went on for a little while. And then in one of these random sexual encounters, I happened to run into somebody who partied, used meth. And he was one of those, I have this thing, guys who I'm really attracted to, and women who are, again, anyways, anybody you're really attracted to, stupid hot, right? They're so hot that you're stupid, right? And this guy was so hot that I was stupid, right? So he told me he was partying. I had no idea what that was. He said it was drugs. And I said, I don't want to use drugs. I just want to have sex. So I went over to his place, and he, like I say, so what, he's stupid. He said, he looks like I was asking him questions about it, you know. I was curious. And he said, you sounded like you're interested. You want to give it a try? And I said, sure. Anything you want. Anything you want. And so my first use of meth was IV.
Wow.
And yeah. And when I hit that, I had arrived. I was whole. That made me feel like I was a whole human being, and meth became the love of my life. There was nothing, I didn't think of anything else after that night. All I wanted was more meth.
So you were instantly hooked.
Yep. My job performance suffered. I was selling cars at the time, and I went from top 5 salesman to bottom. In 1 month, you know, the stats after over a month, and I stayed at the bottom for 6 months, and then they fired me. But all I thought about for that 6 months was more meth, and I found ways and means to get more. I started making, you know, the connections. I started making friends. I got a dealer finally, a consistent dealer for a while, that would supply me as much as I wanted, as much as I could afford, and I used meth. I owned a house at the time, and I didn't leave the house except to buy groceries that I probably wasn't going to eat. Right? Because I was just too busy doing meth, and I spent most of my time in the basement, using and having sex, because that was the best connection I've ever had. Right? It was sex, and it was the love of my life, meth. So I was connected. I was feeling good about my world because I had everything I needed at the time. So I thought. Ended up losing my house the following summer and going into rehab. This was in 2012 that I started using meth. No, 2013 that I started using meth. Lost my house in 2015, and went to rehab up in the Pines. It was called, up in Heber City. It's called Wasatch Ridge now, I think. That did not work well. I was still very addicted. I was still very in the addiction survival mindset, where I had to control everything, didn't trust anybody. And so I ran their program. You can imagine that doesn't work very well for anybody. I was running the show. I didn't go to any groups. I did whatever I could to fuck off. Pardon me, to just goof off and go out and smoke cigarettes the whole time and help out anywhere else. Do anything but treatment. Right. I was there just to get sober for a little while as a means to an end. I did a month up there, left for a week because I had a job opportunity. I had really what that was a lot of money from selling my house. And so I've got a hotel room for a week at a good hotel because I'm bougie like that. And went through about a half ounce of meth in a week. And, you know, just went back to it, had sex and meth the whole time. Didn't leave the hotel room except maybe once or twice to get something to eat. Called him up a week later, said, this is not working for me. I've got to come back because I was running out of money and couldn't afford the hotel room anymore. So insurance paid for another month of treatment, which I ran the program, didn't do any treatment and just screwed off the whole time. Ended up leaving to go to sober living where I was somewhat on track and lasted in sober living for 2 days and called a buddy to come pick me up and was off to the races again. This went on for another 2 years. I had you know, successes were getting jobs and stayed at the job for a year. Well, not a year. Well, 6 months. I got a job at J&J Nursery. I moved up to Layton, and I don't know how I kept the job because I was using on the job. Right, I go into the bathroom and I shoot up. And people would wonder what's wrong with Sean when he's just. Sorry, I got a text message. I'm gonna turn my phone off. He was wondering what's wrong with Sean when he's, you know, he's calm and maybe a little sluggish and when he gets to work, and the next thing you know, he's bouncing off the walls. But that was normal to me. That was nobody could tell. That was normal. Lasted there for about 6 months. Got a job waiting on tables at Marie Callender's up in Layton. I lasted there for a year and a half, but only because the manager was my friend. But I lied my teeth off, lied my ass off about my using. Then I'd use in the bathroom again. You know, I'd go in the bathroom, come on shift, go use, come back out, and I was good. One of the things that I noticed when I was using meth that was really hard for me was, well, I guess I didn't really notice until after the fact, was my temper was really bad. You know, I'm usually a pretty nice guy. I'm pretty mellow and try to get along. And I'm kind of conflict avoidant. I'm the opposite when I'm on meth. You get in my face, you do me wrong, and I'm going to let you know. And I let you know in very uncertain, in no uncertain terms. And it happened. Let me rewind a little bit, tell this story, because before I went to rehab, I was at a hotel in Midvale, and had somebody over in the hotel room we were using, and he invited a trans woman, male to female, right, over to my hotel room, which I had no idea. And when I found out, I said, no, uninvited. That's not my thing. I'm 100% gay. Right? Anyways, 5 minutes later, this trans woman shows up in my door in my hotel room, and I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. So I let her in. Next thing you know, she pulls a knife on me, says, give me your drugs. I laughed. You know, I laughed. That's all I could do is, you know, I just sat there and what are you going to do? Stab me? The hotel saw you come in. They know you're here. You're not going to get away with it. She put the knife away. Anyways, long story short, she grabbed my computer and took off out of the room. I got mad at that. I wasn't going to let that happen. That was my computer. That's how I looked up porn. Right. So I chased her out of the hotel we were on the second floor, and she went out the outside door onto the outside stairs. And as she went out, I lunged for my computer. And as I lunged for it and grabbed it, she somehow tore down my hands and broke my thumb. And I saw red. And my first thought was shove this person down the stairs and kill her. And so I shoved as hard as I could. And thank God that her heel caught in the stairs and she caught the rail. Because I would have been manslaughter at least.
Sure.
Right. That scared me to death. That's one of the things. And then the last time I got fired from my job, the last job I got fired from was because of my temper. It was the stupidest little thing. I was mildly late, and the manager made a small comment, which wasn't mean or derogatory, but I wasn't having it. And I let her know, and like I say, no uncertain terms, that she was a bitch. And, you know, I knew more about this job than she did, and da 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 da. And she was his assistant manager. And I thought I could get away with that because I was friends with the manager. I got fired the day after.
It's so interesting because a lot of this stuff, like the first time that I tried heroin, I used the needle too, right? And like the temper and everything that you're explaining, we have a couple minutes left. Everything.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going on forever.
No, it's okay because you could talk forever and we could listen forever, right? But everything you're explaining is completely opposite of who you are today. So tell us like what you're doing and where you're at today.
Yeah.
Because and everything you said is absolutely incredible, right? It's built you up, and I'm so proud of you, of all the things you were before and all the things you are now, because it's you. Where are you at today?
Today, I have 34 months clean. I'm coming up on 3 years in August 18th. That's my sober day. Today I'm working at Odyssey House. I just got my SUD certificate, and I'm now counseling addicts that are like me, that have some of the same experiences that I can relate to, and I'm sharing my experience with them. Not so much my experience, but sharing my knowledge with them of addiction, I guess. And life is different. It's better. I finally fit into my own skin. You know, it's
clean.
Pardon me?
How did you get clean?
It was in 2018, in April of 2018. I ran out of money. I was getting kicked out of my apartment, and I had nowhere to go. So I called a buddy just to see if I could get a place on his couch in St. George for a little while I got back on my feet, changed geography, right? And it turned out he worked for Renaissance Ranch down in St. George. And he said, Sean, get your ass down here. I'll get you in sober living. We'll get you in treatment. And I went down there. That's where it was my last thing I could do. It was the last opportunity I had. He got me in Lionsgate down there. I spent 5 months in there learning about me, learning about why I wasn't, all the attempts that I tried to get sober, to get clean, didn't work, were because I thought recovery was just about abstinence. It turns out the recovery is about taking care of the things up here and the things in here that made me think that drugs were the solution. The drugs were my connection. The meth was the love of my life when it really wasn't. I learned that, the abandonment issues experienced as a kid, not fitting in as a normal human being among a bunch of straight people when I'm gay, that all those things, I do fit in. I can fit in, and I can be me and not have to change who I am to fit in. And if people don't like me, that's okay. It's okay. We run into people we don't like every day, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that I'm less worthy, that I'm unlovable, that I'm not worthy of respect, and gosh, what else can I say there? Just that I'm worthy, that I'm enough. That was the biggest hurdle for me to get over, is to realize that I am enough just the way that I am. And when I learned that, and I learned that I didn't have to change myself for other people, I could learn to love myself. And once I started loving myself, I could love other people, and that's when recovery took hold.
Wow, what a story! What a story, and what a fine example. I mean, people don't understand. People in treatment centers, we have a lot of people in recovery working in treatment centers because they can relate to the other people who are seeking recovery, and people on the outside don't understand that really. But having you share a story like that with somebody who is new to recovery is like, mind altering.
Yeah, I think that the fact that I can relate on some level to most people, it helps a lot. I'd like to be able to relate to more, gay men and women, but we don't get a lot of those in here. So I don't get to share that experience and strength and hope with them. But it still translates. Recovery is recovery. It's available to everybody, regardless of sexual identity or anything else.
Yeah, the feelings you talked about, I went through many of the same feelings, and I'm not gay, but I still didn't feel I was good enough, and I got angry and I with alcohol as opposed to meth, but everything seems, and Rachel said the same thing with heroin. So it's like it doesn't really matter whether you're gay or
Yeah.
straight or what kind of drug you use. We all share the same experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. We all go through the same shit or crap.
Right?
Do you bleep?
No.
You're okay. Speak your language.
Wait. Don't tell me that I talk like a sailor. We all go through the same experiences. That's the key, and that's the base of recovery. The foundation of recovery is realizing not only that you have a problem, that you're not unique. That we can share some of the same hope, strength, strength and hope, based on some of the similar experiences that we have. That you're not worse or less worthy because you committed more crimes than I did, or I'm not less worthy in recovery because I wasn't as bad as you. Right?
You're right. Hey, thank you for sharing your story. I hope it makes a difference to somebody who's watching. I appreciate you. You know, the overriding story that we hear from almost everyone is that while you're in your using phase, whatever it is, you don't love yourself. And the key is learning to love yourself. So and you've obviously come a long way and done it when you express it so well. Good selection for a guest, Rachel.
Thank you. I know I'm really happy and I'm super proud. I get to see Sean every day, and I watched him through this school struggle and graduate. And so I'm just so super proud of him. And so the honor I get to see him every day. And I love this part of it. I was speaking to our clients because there's tragedy, right? Like in our population, there's tragedy and there are miracles. And so Sean's been one of those miracles lately for me. And so I'm honoring him today, and I'm honored that he's been on here. And the flamingos, he has this flamingo thing and it's cute. And so I'm grateful for it. Because he makes me smile.
It's a dead plant right now. It died, but it's a flamingo.
Well, on behalf of the Flamingo, Sean and Rachel, we thank you very much for watching another edition of Odyssey House Journals.
Thank you.